Board meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, Jen?
Commissioner DeFilippo.
Present.
Commissioner Hertzler.
Here.
Commissioner Eichelberger.
Present.
Controller Whitcomb.
Thank you, Jen. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to approval.
Yes.
This is for salary board. Do you have?
No, sorry.
Okay, for the next session. Okay, bear with us a couple
No
minutes. I'm
problem.
sorry. Okay. Is there a motion to approve salary board actions?
I'll make a motion to approve the salary board actions.
Is there a second? Okay.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is approval of meeting minutes of November 19th. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Is there any other business to be brought in front of salary board? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Can we please rise for the pledge? Our pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Jen, can we have a roll call?
Commissioner DeFilippo.
Present.
Commissioner Hertzler.
Here.
Commissioner Eichelberger.
Present.
Thank you, Jen. Do we have any public comment? Could you please state your name?
My name is Janice Links. Do you want my address?
That's fine.
Okay. Today I would like to comment on the plan that was presented to Lower Allen Township Board of Commissioners by Kirk Stoner at their meeting on October 28th. It was in reference to the Sheepford Road Bridge closure, and I do have copies if you want, I can bring them to you.
You can leave them
Okay.
there, or before you leave.
Okay, so according to historicbridges.org, Old Forge Bridge, which is the Sheepford Road Bridge, has a national and local rating of 9 out of 10 in historical and technological significance. Built in 1887, it is one of two highly rare and highly historically significant Phoenix column through truss bridges on Yellow Breeches Creek, part of the Pennsylvania Scenic River System. Any bridge that survives today with Phoenix columns is rare and should be given the highest possible preservation priority. In our quest to find out more information as to the future of the bridge and under the advisement of legal counsel, we filed right-to-know forms with Cumberland County, Lower Allen Township, PennDOT, and York County. We have received some information from Cumberland County and Lower Allen Township. York County has emailed us, and PennDOT, while initially saying they did not have the information requested, was later able to provide it. There is little or no information available online. The York County website states, check back here for news and updates on county bridge projects since August. The Cumberland County website lists outdated information as to the weight limit on the bridge and is not listed as a current project. No other information is available. However, the bridge is already listed for sale on the PennDOT Bridge Marketing website. There's conflicting information about whether this bridge is going to be replaced. Currently, PennDOT says there is no plan to replace it. According to Carol Russell from PennDOT, it's not necessary for a bridge to be there due to traffic analysis that was done in 2017. However, in prior PennDOT Metal Trust Bridge replacement meetings, it was said that the bridge would likely be replaced in the long run. I've been able to get this information with the help of Nathan from historicbridges.org, who has received direct responses from PennDOT. It appears that the prior traffic analysis on the bridge was done before the ever-expanding Arcona development was in full swing. I have been told by Heather Bittner, Senior Transportation Planner for York County, then that the traffic study is being done. The one that was attempted this past month did not give accurate results, especially as to overweight vehicles crossing the bridge. We expect that now that Sheepford Road has been used as a secondary detour while the Arcona roundabout was being built, vastly increasing the traffic and overweight vehicles crossing it for several months, it is on the radar of even more motorists, and perhaps that will be reflected in the next study. The increase in traffic and in overweight vehicles crossing the bridge could not help but be detrimental to its condition, which we believe shows a lack of planning on the part of the counties and Lower Island Township. We have asked the township and Mr. Stoner at the October 28th meeting of Lower Island Township Board of Commissioners to set up a traffic detail at the bridge to find overweight vehicles, or to place a camera at the site, both of which were denied. Though according to news stories, this was done at the Slate Hill Road Old Stone Bridge. At the October 28th meeting, Mr. Stoner recommended that residents stand at the bridge and take pictures of the overweight vehicles crossing the bridge and send them to him. Sounds like a great plan. I would like to remind him and the commissioners that this is the 21st century and technology exists that would solve this problem. It has become obvious that the Sheepford Road Bridge is not a priority. The bridge is jointly owned by Cumberland and York counties. On the Cumberland County website, it states that the following must be done. If the bridge is identified as a historic bridge, the National Historic Preservation Act of 1996 requires that the county conduct detailed analysis to document the infeasibility of rehabilitating a bridge to meet the county's modern-day transportation needs, including a plan to mitigate the loss of the historic resource if it cannot be rehabilitated. The analysis can take anywhere from 6 months to 3 years. So far, we haven't been able to find out if this has been done. If there are federal funds involved in the bridge, and so far I've been told that there aren't, then it requires a Section 106 and Endangered Species Act requires a survey done as to whether the plan would threaten endangered species in that area. If the project impacts landowners, which often is the case, since bridge projects can often result in newly aligned roads or widened structures that require additional land from surrounding properties, a meticulous process must be followed to work with landowners to secure the needed land. We own the property that abuts the road and the bridge. We have not been contacted by anyone, but at the Lower Island Township meeting mentioned before, we were told that we would be contacted when this became necessary. This assumes that property owners will be agreeable to whatever the county presents in terms of compensation for the use of the land. It is not a plan with an assured outcome. At the public open house hosted by Cumberland and York counties on November 15, 2016, almost 3 years ago, the public overwhelmingly supported rehabilitating this bridge. Approximately 100 people attended the meeting. 48% favored rehabilitating the bridge. 20% favored replacement, and only 9% favored removal of the bridge. What is the point of a meeting for the public if their views are going to be ignored? According to a memo sent to Heather Bittner and Kirk Stoner, the recommended strategy of the closure and removal is based on review of cost, average daily traffic, available detours, and emergency response time. Was the view of the public even considered? It doesn't seem so. Besides the historic value of this bridge and what we believe to be the need for it, there are safety issues for the residents of Sheepford Road if the bridge is closed. The Mariner 2 Trans-Energy Pipeline crosses Sheepford Road. It is within yards of the only other crossroad, Thompson Lane, that could be used if there is an incident with that pipeline. Thompson Lane is a very narrow road that parallels the pipeline, making it not viable as an evacuation route. There are many homes that would be cut off from an evacuation route if the bridge is closed. Some residents are also concerned because they have been told that the turnpike bridge that connects Sheepford Road a little further down is also in danger of being closed. This would further increase the traffic on Thompson Lane, which would be the only egress for those with homes between Sheepford Road Bridge and the turnpike bridge. There are approximately 20 homes between the bridge and Thompson Lane. I don't have the figure for the homes located between Thompson Lane and the turnpike bridge. But it seems once again, this wasn't really planned for. Also, I've been told by Josh Snyder, lead specialist for Governor Affairs on behalf of the pipeline, that they, TransEnergy, are not required to have an emergency plan, but is in fact the responsibility of the township or county as required by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Emergency Management Services Code. I filed right-to-know papers with both the township and Cumberland County to receive a copy of the emergency plan and the number of county representatives who attended the training sessions, but have not yet received this information. In addition, there are many occasions in which it has been necessary to call the police about incidents at Yellow Breaches Park, which is right next to the bridge. If the bridge is closed, we are being cut off from rapid police response. In his presentation, Mr. Stoner stated that it is not necessary for police vehicles to cross the bridge. I would like information as to what studies were done to determine this, since my experience has been that the police enter and exit from both sides of the bridge. In summary, Cumberland County has recently been the subject of several news stories, including one about the rapid expansion taking place in the county, with questions raised as to the planning strategy. Cumberland County has been the fastest growing county in PA in the last decade. And Commissioner, is it Eichelberger? Is that how you say it? Was quoted as saying, when you have growth at this clip, what you have is a danger of impacting the attractiveness that was the original method. The Sheepford Road Bridge is an example of the attractiveness. He went on to say, we recognize that impacts could last forever, so the onus is on us and our municipalities to mitigate those impacts as best we can. Removing a bridge does not seem to be a way of mitigating the impact of growth taking place. And in summary, we believe that Mr. Stoner has downplayed many facts in his presentation to Lower Allen Township on October 28th. This is not just an old bridge, but a historic bridge. It is eligible for the National Register of Historic Places. We are working with the State Historic Preservation Office to have the bridge placed on the register, and with Cumberland County Historic Society to have the bridge placed on their watch list. The input provided at the public meeting in November of 2016 was also downplayed. Mr. Stone did not mention specific numbers on the input he received, but instead listed a few options that were presented at the meeting. I remind you again that 48% of the people asked that the bridge be restored. The possible safety issues that can arise if the bridge is closed were also not satisfactorily presented. Was an emergency response study actually done, or is it the statement made by Mr. Stoner that police cars don't have to cross the bridge just conjecture? And then we have the pipeline, currently under investigation by the FBI for its permitting process. Offering a road such as Thompson Lane, which I again state parallels the pipeline and intersects with Sheepford Road just yards from where the pipeline crosses as the only egress for residents, is not, in our view, a viable plan. The recommendation made by Mr. Stoner to place the bridge on PennDOT's bridge marketing website was misleading at best. The bridge has been listed as for sale on the website since at least August. I have been told by some Township County representatives that this is a done deal, and assured by others that it isn't. Well, I ask, if this is not a done deal, how is it that the bridge can be listed for sale? Is it proper that the bridge would be listed for sale on PennDOT's website before the county commissioners have voted on this plan? It seems to imply a foregone conclusion. We ask you to save our historic bridge, restore it to its 5-ton limit. There's no need for a newer, stronger bridge, since the roads leading to and away from it are not designed for overweight vehicles. It has existed for 132 years, connecting two neighborhoods. When it was built, it was a point of pride for the York County Commissioners, whose names are displayed on the plaque at the top of the bridge. At a cost of $1 million to restore, it would cost each county $500,000. That's all it would take for restoration. Is $500,000 too much money to spend on a historic piece of Pennsylvania history? I see that though initially reluctant to apply for federal state funds for the bridge program, as stated in prior commissioners' meeting, the county is now moving forward to indeed apply for these funds, as stated in the July issue of the Sentinel. I hope that some of these funds could be used to restore the bridge. Monies that will be needed to remove the bridge could be used towards rehabilitating it, with additional funds applied for through state, federal funds, and possibly grants. Other counties have made their historic bridges part of a tourism plan, notably Pike County, which houses the Roebling Bridge. Organizations such as Working Bridges, who have purchased Pennsylvania bridges in the past, could be reached out to, which we've begun to do. Those are just a few of the options. It's time to think out of the box, explore all options, and work together to formulate a real plan to save the Sheepford Road Bridge.
Are you complete?
I am complete.
Okay, does anyone else have any brief comments? Okay, Keith, have we received any written requests from?
I think there was written requests that were delivered to my office minutes before this meeting.
Minutes?
There were prior ones before that, which I have received
I'm not
information
very
on.
close, I just know that I think you dropped off those at my office today.
I did. But I already got the response from the prior ones that I dropped off.
Okay, thanks, Keith.
Sure.
Okay, as far as I know, folks, the county not planning to do anything with the bridge. can't answer your questions about the pipeline. I know we have discussed this in some detail, and it's been brought to our attention that it's just not safe to keep the bridge open. We're not planning to take it down or anything of that nature. I don't know if Jim or Gary have anything to say, or Sandy. I know a lot of your comments were directed to Mr. Stoner, who's not here right now. But that's pretty much where we're at as far as I know.
So it's okay to ask you, have you seen the plan that was presented to Lower Island Township? Because it was called the Sheepford Bridge closure.
We probably have.
Right, so that's where I was directing a lot of my comments to, information that was already presented. And I understand that the bridge is in bad condition and needs to be closed, and part of this is wondering, what is the plan for that? Is the county interested in keeping it, or rehabilitating it?
No, our decision has been to have an alternate plan, which we have presented. As far as keeping the bridge under county ownership, I don't think there's any interest in either York, of course I can't speak for York, or Cumberland County. Is the bridge, is it listed as a historic bridge?
It is a historic bridge, and it's eligible for the National Register. And so,
But it's not listed on the register today.
not as of yet, but we're working towards that.
Okay.
And also with Cumberland County Historical Society to be put on their watch list. It just seems like it's been very difficult to even find out that the bridge was going to be closed. We found out accidentally. 3 years ago at a public meeting, everybody seemed to be in agreement, the public, that they wanted to have the bridge restored. I understand there's financial issues involved, and I was just hoping that before a final plan is actually decided, we but we could consider looking into what the end will be for that bridge. Is it going to be allowed to just sit there and rust away like the bridge in Harrisburg?
Yes, Gary?
Yeah, sorry, I dropped out for some reason.
That's all right. As far as I know, man, we have no plans as the county to keep the bridge. Okay, maybe somebody will buy it. Maybe somebody will buy it to restore and preserve it.
So
We're not going to use it as far as a method of transportation. It's not safe. And we have to look out for the people who
And-
live there.
And in terms of looking out for the people who live there, there is a concern about the pipeline and its effect when you close that bridge. The only other way out for us is to actually drive up to where the pipeline crosses the road and make a left turn there where the pipeline is paralleling that particular road.
Yeah, I'm not
So we
familiar
would need
with
to
that
know
issue.
at least some kind of safety plan for those residents that are going to be affected by that.
Well, I would assume EMS would have a safety plan.
And EMS will not be able to cross the bridge to.
Correct.
So you understand how people who live there might feel that they're not particularly safe at that point.
Not exactly, no.
Okay?
I appreciate your comments and concerns.
Okay, okay.
Anything, Jim?
Not at this time.
Okay, Gary, anything?
No, nothing to add.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is approval of meeting minutes of November 14th and November 19th. Motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of November 14 and November 19.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next, we have approval of personnel transactions. Is there a motion?
I move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, we have approval of resolution 2019-31, adopting the 2020 budget. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the adoption of resolution 2019-31, adopting the 2020 budget.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next, we have approval of grant funding for Housing and Redevelopment Authority in the amount of $20,000. Is there a motion?
She missed the ordinance.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. Excuse me. Approval of ordinance 2019-6 establishing 2020 taxes for Cumberland County. Is there a motion?
I'll make
I'll move for
a
approval on that.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Next is approval of the grant funding for Housing and Redevelopment Authority in the amount of $20,000. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve for the Housing and Redevelopment Authority's Downtown Services Program.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is approval of grant funding for CADIC in the amount of $100,000 with $50,000 for the Workforce Initiative and $50,000 to support of the CYALDG. Is there a motion for approval?
I'll move for approval of both items.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, we have approval of contracts and grants in item 10.1 and 10.2. Is there a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the contracts and grants.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next, we have discussion and approval of the Cumberland County Carlisle Borough Master Parking Agreement.
I think
Are they going to be online?
Yeah.
Six, 1, 0, 0.
Okay, I think we're here.
Oh. Can you hear us, Kurt? John?
Yeah, we can you hear us?
Yeah, just want to discuss the parking agreement.
Okay, if there's any questions you have, we provided a summary document this morning for everyone to look at. We're glad to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. I know I have none.
We received a summary document today. I'm sorry, I didn't receive any document today.
Yeah, I sent that over to Stacy and Sandy. Was that provided? Oh, there we go, okay.
I guess my question, Kurt, from our discussion on Thursday was, what's the difference in cost to the county versus the previous agreement that we had?
Yeah, sure, if you look at the second page of that summary document, we have it listed out there that the existing agreement that was in place cost us a little over $36,000 a year. If you look at the proposed new agreement, we're estimating that to cost about $28,000 a year. There's differences there in that subsidy payment was once required, is no longer going to be required. And also the parking rates have increased with the borough since the first agreement. So you'll see some changes there in that summary table of the costs that we're paying. At the end of the day, I think we're still making out pretty well here. The borough was a good partner in working with us and negotiating the agreement. I don't feel like anyone was trying to protect our interests. We were trying to look and see what was fair and equitable for everyone involved.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I wanted to know whether or not the cost was going to go up. It looks like it's gone down, which, I'm happy to see that.
I think the primary cost driver when it going down too is that subsidy agreement that we had. If the garage didn't make a profit, we'd make that $20,000 payment to the borough each year. The parking garage only made a profit 4 years out of the 20 years of the life of the previous agreement. That subsidy payment requirement's not in this current agreement that we're looking at, so I think that's where most of the savings are coming from.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Kirk or John?
No.
Is there a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the Cumberland County Carlisle Borough Master Parking Agreement.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any questions or comments?
And this continues on until there needs to be an update at some point? In other words, it's not an annual agreement,
That's indefinite.
indefinite?
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye, motion carries. Next, we have approval of capital project request by the district attorney, CID, to replace a vehicle, total projected cost $45,227.83. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is approval to recommend the appointments of Janelle Stevens and John Ramstead to the Local Emergency Planning Committee, effective upon PEMA appointment and expiring December 31st, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to recommend the approval of the appointments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we have approval of reappointments of John Eby, Robert Weaver, and James Ross to the Blighted Property Reinvestment Board for 3-year terms effective January 1, 2020, and expiring December 31, 2022. Is there a motion for approval?
I'll move for approval of this fine gentleman being reappointed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, we have approval of the appointment of Michael L. Waddle, Public Director, and the reappointment of Michael Berkheimer, Farmer Director, to the Cumberland County Conservation District Board for 4-year terms, effective January 1, 2020, and expiring December 31st, 2023. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve that appointment and reappointment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next is approval of general disbursements, transfer authorizations, items 16A through G. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second, I'm sorry.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Would like to report acceptance of monthly reports for the change of assessments for the month of November. Other business, we have, yes.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
This is a late addition to the agenda, of course, but I'd ask for the commissioners to take action on a motion to approve the public safety grant agreement.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve that agreement.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Is there any other business to be brought from the board? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move.
We are adjourned. Thank you.